Hi guys, welcome to Take 3. This is Arjun, Dinesh, and that is Akash, Dharmaraj, and this is a special episode where we have the director of Idhu Vedhalam Sollum Kadhai with us, Mr. Rathindran R Prasad.
So the social media thing, and a lot of youngsters are watching other films from other countries, and they are practicing films from YouTube, learning from YouTube. So how it is affecting film industry now, in both good and bad way?
I mean, I don't see it in a bad way. Like, I mean, I think it's a healthy development. They are more open to a lot of new ideas.
Okay.
They're not like that conservative in the sense like in terms of the style or the kind of films that they watch. Like they're actually getting more exposed to the international movies, and so like nowadays they're becoming more and more open to newer concepts and newer filmmaking, and the consumption of movies have become more.
Yeah, true. A lot
Like,
of
instead
films are
of-
coming out because of these platforms coming out.
Also, like the number of movies that we consume is also become more.
Yeah, okay, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can just like sit at home and watch 2-3 movies,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
binge watch it, rather than just travel all the way.
Yeah, to a theater,
Like
get
to a
in-
theater, buy a ticket and have sit there for interval and all that.
and
So
all the boring parts of watching a film cut out.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a boring part.
Yeah, that's still
I mean,
fun for a lot of
that's
people. Yeah,
that's the
a-
whole experience of it. But I'm not saying this as a bad sign either.
you opted for sync sound, right? Live sound, and that is not like a technique that's commonly used in our industry. So did you like face a lot of difficulties when you were shooting?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
there are difficulties, but then there are a lot of plus points as well. Yeah, one of the things is that our Indian crew, they're not so used to sync sound, so usually the sets are very noisy. So you have to really make an effort to keep the sets calm, and the actors have to rehearse their lines, and because you don't have a concept of prompting
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all these
yeah,
things,
yeah.
and they cannot screw up the lines, and later think, okay, fine, I can work it out in dubbing, and these kind of things. Like the actors have to be even more disciplined,
Yeah, true.
and even the crew has to be disciplined.
So I want to ask about this to every filmmaker that I meet. This question is put on to every filmmaker by a journalist some part in their career. Okay, why can't we make a film like Inception? So and every filmmaker who gets this question replies by saying people won't understand it. Indian filmmakers I'm talking about. So, but Indian audience do accept films like Inception. We love films like Inception. We only hate films that try to copy or do it in the worst way. So because we watched Inception, we can't take this film into mind. So whose fault is this? Either producers or the directors?
Like, or is there a problem that is in the root of the industry itself that we can't figure out?
First thing is an audience are pretty ready for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't blame it on audience at all.
Yeah.
If you give them a good film, that's all it matters.
Exactly.
If you engage them, that's all it matters. They're not asking for okay, I need 4 fights and I mean 4 songs and a comedy track and a sentiment scene. No, you have to engage them. As long as you engage them, they're
fine
pretty
with
okay
it.
with anything
Yeah,
actually.
True. There was a recent film called Baby Driver. I just watched it, and like the way they edited the film was very rhythmic to the soundtrack they used.
This is all your fault.
We saw that Gibran is doing the music, so I was just wondering if you had him do the music first and then edited the film over that, or did you?
Okay.
Yeah, did you edit the film first and then ask him to?
No, actually, I prefer doing the film the other way. Get the get the soundtrack and start editing the film for that.
Ah, okay.
But you can't take that liberty anymore with Gibran because he's quite
Busy?
composer. So I mean, I had to use some of the some reference tracks to edit the film and later get the background score done for that.
You really like action films. You said that before, and you shot a lot of action sequences for the film, right? So, like how did you approach shooting action? Because a lot of action these days are not, shot well, and they're just edited with a lot of jump cuts and fast-paced movements, and they don't follow the action seamlessly. So is that something you really want to do? Because from the very few shots from the trailer, I can realize that it was all covered in a pretty wide frame. So I'm assuming that you shot it shot lengthy takes for the.
Yeah, we did. That's one of the reasons I chose to work with Greg.
Okay.
So
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And so what happened was like, like 4 years back, like, when I had met Greg in London. So he's basically, that he's a pro wrestler. He's not actually a film stunt choreographer. Now I watched like in a studio, like, one of the stunt performances that he was performing. So if I didn't know, like, I would actually be thinking that, like, they're actually fighting. And I wouldn't have imagined it was actually a choreography. So no ropes, nothing, like, no rigs. So, and like, we brainstormed few ideas, and like, we tried shooting few sequences like that, like, and yeah, it worked. So we did a short feature called Trail of Blood
Okay.
together, where he was a stunt choreographer and he also played the protagonist in the film.
When you shoot action scenes like this, does it like change the way the production goes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so is it more difficult or like, or is it subjective to the filmmaker?
Um, it's a difficult question. Like, I mean, you can't say if it's difficult or easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends upon the actors, like, who are participating in it.
Okay.
Like, if they have any kind of an introduction to martial arts,
Yeah.
so it's definitely like a lot more easier for them, like, because it gives them a lot more fluidity
Okay.
when it comes to.
You're able to sell the action better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, what is your writing process like, sir, for writing a characterization? Will you always start from the scratch, or take someone in mind and start building the world
Like, do you lose references from other art forms? Like,
or else people that you see for writing a particular character in a film?
Both. Sometimes, like, an idea inspires you, like, you come up with a line, and then you start, like, picking people from your own life. So I like taking references from life, actually, more than films. I mean, I love watching films, but then I like taking references from the people that I know.
do you believe every filmmaker is supposed to be a film buff in order to make a good film?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Why do you think that's the way?
You're making films at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to love what you do.
So talking about that,
But then that's not the only criteria that you require to be a filmmaker. Like, you need a lot of other. I mean, I think you need a lot of other things as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, for example, like reading,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
like, literatures, and then like I'm also observing human beings. I think that's one of the very important things.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, like, you're going to tell stories about human beings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could also be stories about toys.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Toy Story, or.
But you have to.
But then still, toys behave like human beings.
Human
Like,
beings, yeah.
emotions are about humans.
Or it could be about gods, but still, like, gods who behave like human beings.
Yeah, true.
Talking about being a film buff, obviously the films that you have watched would have inspired you and influenced you, both in your writing or at some way in your filmmaking process. So how do you go about it?
Like, not for this film particularly, in your life,
In
or
your
whatever
life,
people,
whatever you write
directors
for
that
other
you-
films also.
Okay.
So has films that you watched inspired you and influenced you in your writing?
Yeah, almost like in every film that you watch influences you. I don't know if it inspires you, but definitely, like, in every film that you watch is going to have some kind of an influence in whatever you write.
Any recent directors that come up to your mind, like, that you really admire?
Indian or
Huh? Your wish. That's really your wish.
I don't know. Like, I have so many directors.
any?
So I mean, almost like I like every director in a certain way.
Really avoiding this well.
No, it's true. It's true. Like, I mean, I can't really pinpoint at one director. Like, I mean, I like so many directors, and like my all-time favorite director, like, if you ask me, is Satyajit Ray.
Like, a lot of people who are trying to become filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers, they don't have an idea of what a role of a director in a film is. Because I know a lot of people who want to become filmmakers, but they don't have an idea as to what a director is supposed to do. They just think, they just take a script and start doing a film. But there are a lot of other responsibilities, other, creative roles that he has to perform. So he or she has to perform, sorry. So how would you, define the role
of a director?
Yeah. Very tough question, I know. But
Very tough. A cinematographer is going to shoot, and editor is going to edit, and like, the actors are going to act. So basically, you have to direct everything.
yeah, that's
Everything. Like, I mean, you need to know a bit of every craft.
okay. So, like, being a jack of all.
Yeah, you have to be jack of all trades.
Okay. There are two types of directors. One who have a script and then they ask every other crew member and cast member to follow the script. And there are directors who like to collaborate and ask them to pitch in ideas. Like, what's your workflow? Do you like to collaborate with the actors or just tell them what to do?
Depends upon the character.
Okay.
See, for example, like, one of the characters like that I had in the script is like Guru Somasundaram's character.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I had to collaborate with him. So Abhay Deol's character was like, I mean, his shoot was like only 5 days, but then like we were working on it for almost 15 days. The way he walks and the way he talks, also his diction, no. So he's supposed to speak Tamil in the purest form.
Yeah, true.
Whenever you write something for Indian audience, so do you have any precautions in mind? Any content, any artistic content. So do you have it in mind? Because it may censor your work.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be pretty conscious about the censor thing, but then it has to be culturally appealing as well. It has to be like culturally rooted as well.
Yeah, okay.
Like
true.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of like making something like that's completely
Out of place.
away from
India's space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the culture and roots.
Okay.
know?
Yeah, you mean like the film should be organically bred from India.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. True. Okay, this is like my final question to wrap the whole session up. You're fine, right? Yeah. So when you look at aspiring filmmakers now, young filmmakers, and a lot of them are coming up now, especially in India. But yeah, a lot of films that are they have a formula where they follow a particular structure to get box office return. So if that's the case, do they have this preconceived notion that this is how a film is supposed to be made? And if so, do you have any suggestions to make sure you have all these restrictions removed when you're starting your creative process, because it's very essential that you don't have any restrictions when you start the process?
Actually, like to be honest, like I don't get into the formula and
Yeah.
formula of it, like so usually like when I start writing it, like I just write like what I feel is right or what excites me.
Okay.
And as long as it excites me, it might excite him, it might excite you.
Yeah.
So it might.
Yeah.
You never know. But then the first it has to excite me, right?
Yeah.
So I mean I can't do something like that like and I apply all the formulas, and if it doesn't excite me and like expect that like it's got all the formulas, so it should
Excite me or him.
excite him or you or any XYZ, right?
Yeah, true. Definitely. So yeah, this was a great session, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
I have a small.
You shake my hand and then tell, sir. Thank you guys for watching. You can follow Mr. Rathindran on Twitter over there, and Mr. Akash on Instagram, and me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube,
Tinder.